Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to Black Comics, the politics of race and representation with Dr. Sheena Howard. I am the Peale's first artist fellow. Live captions and ASL interpretation are provided for all of our events. Captions are underneath the video player on our website and can be adjusted for size, color, and contrast. We are recording. This event will last 1 hour. You can email online at thepeelecenter.org for technical help. You can also reach us on social media. We are at The Peale on Twitter and Facebook, and The Peale Baltimore on Instagram, using the handles being shared in the comments box on the live viewing webpage you see here. We invite you to write your questions in the chat box on the webpage you are watching this through at any time throughout the discussion. Any donations you make during this program will go to supporting and ensuring that programs like this can continue to be free for all in the future. Thank you so much for giving what you can. We begin this event by acknowledging, with humility, the lands where the Peale in Baltimore is situated today are the traditional, ancestral, and unceded lands of Piscataway, Lenape, and Susquehannock indigenous peoples. The vast coastal area today known as Baltimore City, Maryland, sustained indigenous peoples until the arrival of Europeans beginning in the 1600s. Over the next 400 years, many Piscataway, Lenape, and Susquehanna communities were decimated, absorbed by larger villages or tribes, and or forced by the U.S. federal government to move west beyond the Mississippi River with larger tribes. Since then, other tribal peoples have moved here in the diaspora, including Lumbee peoples. On January 9, 2012, two tribes of Piscataway, the Piscataway Conoy tribe and the Piscataway Indian Nation, became the first tribes recognized by the state of Maryland. In 2017, the state also recognized the Acclaimed Indian tribe. We acknowledge the Peale stands on stolen lands. This history was adapted from an original text authored by Ryan A. Coons, Peter Dayton, and Ashley Minner of the Lumbee tribe. Now, I'd like to introduce Dr. Sheena Howard. Sheena C. Howard is an award-winning author, filmmaker, and scholar. In 2014, Sheena became the first Black woman to win an Eisner Award for her first book, Black Comics, Politics of Race and Representation. The Eisner Awards are considered the Oscars of comics. She is also the author of several critically acclaimed books and comic books. In 2017, Sheena published the Encyclopedia of Black Comics, which is the first book of its kind, profiling over 100 Black people in the comics industry. The Encyclopedia of Black Comics was named the 2018 American Library Association's Outstanding Reference Source. She has appeared on NPR, ABC, BBC, PBS, as well as other networks and documentaries as an expert on pop culture, politics, and social justice. Sheena is the subject of a 2018 Emmy-nominated episode of State of the Arts, which airs on NJTV and WHYY. And that is an abbreviated version of her bio. And without further ado, I would like us to welcome Dr. Sheena C. Howard. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that introduction. It is an honor to be here with the Peale and all of you guys. Thank you so much for bringing me in. And of course, congratulations to Kumasi, the reason why we are here, because of the amazing Black Men exhibition and the amazing work that he is doing through the medium of comics. And so today I'm going to talk for a little while, and then I'll open it up for a Q&A session. But before I really jump into my remarks, I think it's helpful to just let you know a little bit about me because it will put my talk in perspective, especially for those who are, just seeing me or hearing me or getting to know me for the first time. Knowing more about my body of work and why I do what I do will help put my comments in perspective today when we get into talking about, the politics of race and representation, and specifically this creators empowerment framework that I am going to be talking to you all about. So, as said in the wonderful introduction, I am, the first Black woman to win an Eisner Award at San Diego Comic-Con, and that award was for my first book, Black Comics: Politics of Race and Representation, which was actually based off of my dissertation at Howard University. So at Howard University, I was very young when I did my PhD there. I was only 23 years old. And, you have to write a dissertation. And I didn't know what I wanted to write, this really big book on, because basically a dissertation is just a book. And so the thing that I was consuming at that time happened to be the Boondocks comic strip. And I really love the Boondocks comic strip. It was witty, it was smart. A lot of you might be familiar with the animated television show, which I am not a fan of. That's often the case when you go from reading a book to like the movie version of something. You always like the book better. But so, that is really the beginning of my journey into the world of comics, really looking at comics from an academic perspective, looking at race, looking at African American vernacular English in the Black comic strip, looking at gender dynamics through Black comic strips. And because of that dissertation, I wanted to put together a history of Black people's contributions to the comic industry. And I thought that this would be a really easy process. I thought I would just go downstairs to the library at Howard University and just find a book titled something like The History of Black Comics, something like that, where I could just go and look at, read about all the Black people that were working in comics historically. And there was no such book. And I figure, after weeks of searching the library, I'm like, I'm at Howard University. If the book is not here that features Black people in comics, then the book must not exist. And the book really didn't exist. And so that was why I put together Black Comics: Politics of Race and Representation, to begin to fill this void of acknowledging the contributions, the history of Black people in comics, because it had not yet been done yet. And that was, over a decade ago now, when studying comics wasn't actually a cool thing to do. And so now, over a decade later, we're at a place where a lot of people are now studying comics from an academic perspective, helping to fill the void of Black people's contributions in comics. And so I went on to put together books like the Encyclopedia of Black Comics. Recently, I published Why Wakanda Matters: What Black Panther Reveals About Communication, Psychology, and Identity, all with the intention of documenting Black culture through comics, a field that has not been documented, at least at the beginning when I was starting this work. Along that journey, I began to write comics. So I was asked by publishing companies to write comics. So I've had the privilege of writing Wonder Woman as well as the Black Wonder Woman. Recently, I wrote DMC from Run DMC's from Run DMC. I wrote his graphic novel, which should be coming out hopefully next year. And so I've been able to do a lot of things in comics with the goal of representing, underrepresented communities, particularly Black people, but also, neurodiverse superheroes, right? So just challenging the dominant narrative of what we typically see in the media is where my role is and where I sit in terms of creating content and publishing and putting out work. And so I do this across a lot of mediums, not just comics, not just nonfiction, but I also write fiction and film as well. And so I think just knowing my foundation and where I'm coming from in terms of writing for social change will put my comments in perspective. And so if we can actually go to my first slide, that'd be great. So This slide, here's a comic that I kind of do on Patreon. It's kind of like a monthly thing, just to give you a little sense of, my foundation, the types of things I'm writing now. And as I'm talking, just to give you a kind of little smirk or a kind of little laugh, this is something that I'm working on right now. Next slide, please. So here, what you're looking at is what I call the Creators Empowerment Framework, or the beginning of the Creators Empowerment Framework. So like the title of this talk, we're talking about representation and the importance of representation. Like, the Amazing Black Men exhibition, that's all about representation, right? Representing, the Black community, the viewpoints of the Black community, its social commentary, it's challenging dominant narratives, and all of that necessary stuff that we need to continue doing. But what I want to do is push the conversation forward a little bit, because in conjunction with focusing on representation, which we have been doing for some time now as minorities creating media and challenging the status quo, we have been doing representation. But in conjunction to representation as a creative, we also need to create economic engines for ourselves. And this is what I mean by the Creators Empowerment Framework, going from the individual who's creating art from the standpoint of representation, because that's important, but also for ourselves and our community to create an economic engine. So what can that look like for the individual artist on this framework that I'm talking about today? You can think about it like this. So that first box says self, right? Generally, when we're young or we first start creating, we create for ourselves, right? Think about writing in your journal, right? You're writing things for yourself. And then you move to showing people, right? Creating things for others. So whether you're a writer, a filmmaker, whatever it is, you begin to show people, right? From there, along this journey, we get to this middle piece, which is, if we're thinking about doing good in the world, impacting the people around us, we then start to create for ourselves, for others, in our community, right? Our art tends to become personal, right? And personal meaning we want to give back to our community. We want to help our community. Think about the creative that does expeditions, right, at community centers or museums, right? You go back to your local high school to talk, right? You're starting to really engage with your artistic process with the larger community behind that has brought you up, right? But these last two boxes are super important to understanding how to create an economic engine for yourself and society, right? The people that look like you, the community that you come from, and making this mental shift, right? So what does representation and creating an economic engine look like when you have a vision of social change in mind? And that transition from just creating for yourself in your community connected to a larger vision that looks like social change can look like really honing down on moving from a creative to a creative entrepreneur. And this is a transition where you go from sort of that starving artist mentality that they like to feed us, right? We're creating things and going broke. We're using our own personal money to put things out into the world, to that economic engine where we can get to a place where we're actually making money on our art, right? But we're not spending our own personal money creating the art. So it starts first with ourselves, thinking of yourself as not just a creative, but a creative entrepreneur, right? And then taking that, what you're doing for yourself, and creating an economic empowerment engine, which is that last box. And we're going to talk about what this can look like for yourself on your creator's journey, and what this can look like to the people around you, because it's a very empowering framework if you're able to follow the steps that I'm going to talk about today, and moving from, just the politics of representation to economic empowerment. So the question is, how do we move from representation to what I'm talking about, this vision of economic empowerment in our relative communities? And for me, that is primarily the Black community, but I obviously have lots of identities and write from a lot of different perspectives related to underrepresented populations. And so what this slide is showing you is how to go from what I'm calling the micro level, which is creating art for representation and social commentary, which is important, but moving to that macro level, really impacting your community and yourself in your life through economic empowerment. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so this is a wordy slide. And as a professor, I know that this is a big no-no to have a bunch of words on a slide, but I had to write these words on a slide because I want to say this very specifically, and I want to read to you the words that are on here because I am not an economist. I'm actually a professor of communication. I do happen to have a business degree, but I'm not an economist. And reading this exactly how it is written is important to me getting the point across. So moving from that micro level, which I'm talking about, which is just about representation, that macro level, we have a couple fundamental definitions, right? Microeconomics. Anybody remembers microeconomics from undergrad? I know I sure do. I probably only remember supply and demand in that class. But microeconomics is single factors and the effects of individual decisions. So we can think about the individual things we do as a creative, such as representation, that does have an impact, and that's very important. But moving to that other side of the macroeconomics, more thinking on a macro level, which is large scale general economic factors, such as interest rates and national productivity decisions. So what does that mean for the communities that we care about? Well, it looks like buying power versus money circulation. And I'm sure we've all heard the statistics that I'm going to read here right now in some way, shape, or form. So here's what it says, and this is right from Bank Greenwood. It's a Black bank. I'm not endorsing this bank. I'm just sourcing where I got this information from. So it says Black people have more buying power than ever before. Their economic prosperity is limited, right? Yet their economic prosperity is limited. Buying power, or the amount of income someone has to spend, doesn't equate to economic growth. This is really important. Blacks have nearly $1 trillion in gross national income. That is the total amount of money earned by a nation's people and businesses. So we have 1 trillion in gross national income, right? That's like our buying power. Yet only 2% is reinvested into the Black community. The key is that income needs to stay in the Black community longer. Currently, a dollar circulates 6 hours in an African American community, compared to 20 days in a Jewish community and 30 days in an Asian community. And so I know we've heard versions of this statistic, and I know these sort of numbers are even debated in terms of how long the Black dollar stays in its own community. But the fact of the matter is, we do have significant buying power. But buying power is just our ability to spend money, which we do. But we want to increase our wealth. And as a creator, you are in a unique and powerful position on your journey to success, right? On your journey to the representation work that you're doing through your art. You're in a very great position, as on your journey on the way up, you're creating an economic engine for yourself and your community. It looks like not just being a creative, but being a creative entrepreneur. Of course, this is going to look like some really practical things: getting an LLC, getting an accountant, right? Having perhaps a full-time job and doing your creative entrepreneurship work, but getting to a place where you are not spending the money from your full-time job on the art that we want to create. So a lot of times as creatives, we just want to get our stuff out there, right? And so we're spending money out of our own pocket instead of treating our creative side as a business, so that the creative products that we're putting out are running themselves. We're getting income in for our business, and then we're creating. This is where places like Patreon and those sort of places help people support you so that you can create the content that you want to create without you going into debt or spending your money. It's flipping the starving artist trope, which we should not accept, on its head, and linking that creative with the creative entrepreneur aspect. On this journey, as you're creating, right, as you're getting more traction, as you're having exhibitions at places like the Peale, the key is to reinvest into your business, right? You make money, you reinvest that to your business, you don't go spend that on something personal. But the other key, which is important, is to reinvest into other Black people, and daily, on a daily basis. Reinvesting into Black people shouldn't look like something that we do on one particular day. It should look like something that we do every day. So a lot of us talk about reinvesting into the Black community, buying Black, and those types of things, but we need to make this a daily habit. I'm going to show you what this can look like as a creative that's being intentional about this. And this is the key. This process is the key to creating not only an economic engine for yourself, but an economic engine for the people that you care about, right? That societal change and that societal vision that we talked about earlier. There are certain things that you spend money on every day, that you have to spend money on every day, or you choose to spend money on every day. Making the transition to spend that money that you're going to spend anyway on Black people is something that you can do to reinvest back into your community, particularly as a creative, on a daily basis. And again, I'm going to show you what this looks like for me in a slide going forward. But the ironic thing about grasping what I'm talking about, reinvesting into yourself first, understanding that you are a business as a creative, right? And then reinvesting into people that look like you. The ironic thing about this is that it's going to help your career grow quicker and faster and further, right? When you are adding value to other people, when you are supporting other people, right? Not just for your own personal gain of getting noticed for your creative output, which we all want to do, but thinking about the economic engine that you can create for other people, ironically, is going to help you grow and get visibility faster, stronger, and better. So we can go to the next slide. So when I talk about the creators empowerment framework, I'm actually talking about some foundational things. I'm talking about my own personal mission through this framework, the values of this framework, and the goals of this framework. So the mission here for the creators empowerment framework that I want all creatives to buy into is, one, to empower creators to be social impact leaders while contributing to the Black community in a meaningful, intangible way. Okay. And the great thing about this is giving back to your own community is empowering to you, it's empowering to the people around you. But even people who are not of the community, they can also participate in supporting you as a creative, right? When you have these missions, values, and goals that we're talking about here today. So the value behind the creators empowerment framework that I'm sharing today, the creative empowerment framework values community giving, socially responsible expression through the arts, and creator community accountability, right? Being conscious of what you are putting out there as a creative, having integrity with what you are putting out there as a creative. There is nothing worse than going viral for something silly that you posted on the internet that you don't actually believe in, being known for that thing for years when it actually doesn't align with your values. And I learned a really valuable lesson a few years ago. I learned that I could be the most popular thing in the world and get the most media coverage by attacking other people. But I made a conscious decision that I want to reach my goals, right? I want to be a writer that people know, that people support, whatever goals we have, but I want to do it with my integrity, because it's easy to get high level media coverage, visibility, right? If you're attacking other people, right? If you're saying things that are provocative just for provocative sake, right? Those are very easy ways to get media coverage and visibility. But if you're led by a mission and values and this economic empowerment engine that I'm talking about today, right? You'll get there, and you'll get there with your integrity which is super important, not only to you, but to the communities that you care about. And finally, the goal of this creators empowerment framework is to create an engaged community of creators, supporters, and fans dedicated to the Black community becoming the highest earning minority group in the United States. And this is totally doable. And I think a great place to start in reaching this goal is the creative ecosystem, the creative entrepreneurs, the people that are creating content and adding value in the Black community. Right now, depending on what study you read, the highest earning minority group is either Asian Americans or Indian Americans, right? And so it's no reason that the Black community, with the buying power that we have, if we just double down on creating an economic engine for ourselves, not spending our net worth, right, but reinvesting our net worth into ourselves, into people that look like us, there's no reason why we as a community cannot reach that goal, and reach the goal with help of people that don't look like us as well, right? Okay, so you can go to the next slide. So this slide, right, some people might think this is a flex slide, but I'm really showing, some of my accomplishments here because it makes the point that I'm talking about. Earlier I talked about the more you invest in your community, the more you support people that look like you, people that look like you will support you, right? Getting out of the mindset of just personal gain, but how can I give back to people that look like me? And when I look back on my career so far, I've been on pretty much every, major media outlet you can think of. NBC, BBC, my book's been in the New York Times, LA Times. I've been on The Breakfast Club, Good Morning America, all of these places. And all of these places are not Black-owned places, right? But here's the incredible thing. All of these places that I've been on, I was supported by some Black person that worked within those agencies, right? Some Black person that wanted to help me get to the next level because they believed in what I was doing, right? The Breakfast Club. Good Morning America was a reporter, a Black female reporter that worked there and said, hey, Sheena, I saw your story on ABC News, right? I want to do a feature for you in Good Morning America. Same thing with NBC News, right? That was the NBC Black editor. Same thing with the Washington Post. My book was in the Washington Post. When I won that Eisner Award, I'm like 100% sure that I would have never won that Eisner Award if there wasn't one Black person on the Eisner Award panel that year. And there's not always a Black person on the Eisner Award panel each year. And so everywhere I look, when I really sit back and look at my career, it's been the support of people that look like me. And so on your journey up, when I say that you can grow quicker, faster, and stronger by supporting people that look like you, because they will support you, I really mean it. And my journey is a testament to that. And so why not be intentional about reinvesting in yourself and reinvesting in your community? You can go to the next slide. Okay, so this slide sort of sums this transition up pretty much in 2 sentences. The people you spend your money on and the places you spend your money at, right? Reinvesting in yourself, right? First getting to the point where you understand that what you create, you're creating value, and you should be getting paid for that value, and you should be reinvesting that money into your creative pursuits, keeping your personal money separate from your creative money so that you can grow further, faster, stronger, and not go broke doing it. Comes down to people you spend your money on and places you spend your money at. And that is really the fundamentals of how you move from the micro level, which is representation, which is really important, but also doing this economic empowerment work. So you can go to the next slide and I'll show you what this looks like for me on a daily basis. Okay. So I am a writer. So my primary means of creating is writing. And so I made a very intentional decision a couple of years ago that if I'm going to spend my money, I'm going to spend it on people that look like me, because I need to spend this money doing these things that you see on the screen anyway. And so I live in Philadelphia. At the beginning of my career, I would go to Starbucks, right? I've even done like BBC interviews in Starbucks with the loud music, right? You can't even ask them to turn it down. But now when I go to a cafe, I go to a Black owned cafe. Okay. I go and get my coffee every morning at a Black owned cafe. I was going to do that anyway. And even if I have to walk 5 blocks out of the way a little bit to go to this Black owned cafe, it is worth it, right? So, as a Black person, everybody knows the internal conversations that we've had. You might not want to admit it, but we buy something from a Black owned place and they get our order wrong, or it comes late, or they mess up our order. And what do we say? Man, see, that's why I don't buy stuff from Black owned businesses, right? But we don't do that to white owned businesses, right? They get to mess up and they get forgiven. And sometimes shopping Black or buying Black or being intentional about this means that your order might get messed up, means that it might not come as fast as Amazon is going to deliver it, means that your Black bookstore might not have all the books that Barnes and Nobles has. But guess what? If you make the deliberate decision to buy from Black people and spend your money on Black people, and you consistently do that, and we do that as a community, in 10 years, they will have the service of an Amazon. They will have the service of a Barnes and Noble. So one thing we need to stop is stop comparing the startup mom and pop Black owned shop to businesses that have been around for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. They literally have a head start. You can't even compare those two. It's apples to oranges. But you know what those organizations had? They had all types of people buying from their business year after year after year, so they could get to the point where they're the Amazons, the Walmarts, the Starbucks. And your local Black owned coffee shop, your local bookstore, right, can get to that place if we reinvest in each other. And so the way I look at it is, when I go to my Black owned coffee shop, yes, I might have to walk a little bit further. Would it be more convenient for me to just walk up the block to the Starbucks? But no, I'm going to walk that extra 5 blocks or 10 blocks to go to that Black owned coffee shop, because that money is going to that Black business owner. That money is going to that Black person's family, right? That money is going to help that Black business owner run their business and maybe start another coffee shop. The same thing when you shop at businesses that are not Black owned. You are paying for their kids to go to college. You are paying for their rent for that month. And so be intentional and give grace when you are implementing, right, this strategy of reinvesting in people that look like you. So also recently, when I write books, I need an editor. I had a really good editor. I loved her, but I made the decision to hire a Black editor, right? And so again, it's something that I needed to spend money on already, but now I'm being intentional about supporting Black editors, right? I did an event a couple of years ago at a local bookstore, a local Black bookstore that had supported me for years. Let me do, free events there just out of the love and support. And when I did that event, the way I did it, this is what I'm talking about reinvesting in yourself. This is going to be a beautiful example. So if you have a pen and paper, you are going to want to actually write this down. So a lot of us writers, and you can actually do this for any live event, by the way. So a lot of us writers or people that do live events, we want to do the event and we spend money out of our pocket. We might spend money for the venue, we spend money for the refreshments, we spend money for whatever it is to make this event happen, because we just want to make the event happen. Maybe we charge $5 at the door, but it doesn't cover what we needed to cover in terms of the cost of the event. So here's what you can do instead. And this is what economic empowerment looks like as a creative. We all know someone with a nonprofit, okay? Some of us have friends with nonprofits that are not even doing much with the nonprofit, but they still have nonprofit status. So what you want to do is somebody that's, let's take it for an example, doing a book signing event. I did this for my last book signing event, Why Wakanda Matters. I went to my friend. I said, hey, I need to partner with a nonprofit for my next book signing event. And since my book was on mental health in the Black community, I titled my event, I think it was called Mental Health and Black Empowerment, right? That was kind of the name of my book signing event. And my friend with the nonprofit, I told her, I don't need you to do anything. I just need you to collect the checks. Because instead of me spending money out of my pocket, my own personal income for my family, I want to do this in a way where I get everybody paid and everybody empowered. So I told my friend, I don't need you to do anything. I just need you to collect the checks. So she agreed. She said, okay, as long as I don't have to do anything, I will help you out. And then I sent the email to about 20 businesses that I already had a relationship with, right? People that I've done free speaking engagements for in the past, the coffee shop that I go to every day, friends that have small businesses, right? I sent about 20 emails out. Very long, detailed email, but the gist of the email went like this. Hey, I partnered with this amazing nonprofit for this event called Mental Health and Black Empowerment, based on my book, Why Wakanda Matters, right? Told them a little bit what we were trying to do. And in that email, I asked each individual business for $3,000. Now, that might sound like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money to be asking someone via email. But the point is, you're asking them for $3,000. Everybody's not going to give you $3,000. But some people might say, hey, Sheena, I don't have $3,000, but I have $250, right? I have $1,000, right? So I sent this email. I told them if they sponsored the event, they're going to get a tax write-off because I partnered with the nonprofit. Okay, this was the reason why you partnered with your Black friend that has the nonprofit, right? So you can tell these businesses you're going to get a tax write-off, which they will, right? And you'll tell them, hey, I'll have gift bags at the event. Your money will cover the marketing. We'll put you on visual branding pre and post event, so they'll be getting something out of it, and you'll be supporting a very important topic around mental health in the Black community. And so after sending 20 of these emails out to businesses all around that I had different relationships with, I ended up raising $7,500, right? $7,500. Now think about it. Typically, most of us creatives would do an event where we're just spending our money out of our pocket to make this event happen. So I was able to raise $7,500 just by sending emails. Okay. And that $7,500 went to my friend with the nonprofit. So I said, hey, friend, I'm going to give you, a percentage of this money. Let's say it's 10%, 15%, whatever it is for helping me out. You send the rest of the money to me, right? You keep $1,000. You send the rest of the money to me. So my friend with the nonprofit just got $1,000 for helping me out, right? Supporting it. By the way, I sent that same email to my book publisher. Now, normally anybody that publishes books with a publisher, even if you self-publish a book, you have to buy the books in order to sell them at the event. You very rarely sell all of the books back and make your money back. But I sent that same email to my book publisher. Hey, I'm doing this Black Empowerment mental health event. If you donate the books, right, you'll get a tax write-off. So the publisher ended up sending me 100 free books. So now I got my friend with the nonprofit paid. Now I have free books. So now I was able to actually throw an event for free to the attendees and give them all free books. I have 100 free books in my hands, and now I'm just giving them away, right? Talk about an economic engine and empowerment. But if you're doing the math, excuse me, you know that I have a lot of money left, right? So I took $1,000 out of that money and I donated it to the bookstore, right? I bought one of those big checks on Amazon, right? Wrote the bookstore's name on it, right? So now we're taking pictures showing that I donated to this Black-owned bookstore, and this was during the middle of a pandemic. I had a Black photographer. I had a Black keynote speaker. They all got paid out of that money. So now everybody around me is getting paid. I am supporting my bookstore. I am giving everybody free books on mental health. Okay. And still, if you're doing the math, I still had about $200 left over that I was able to pay myself for all of the hard work that I put into making that event happen. And that is what the transition looks like going through this creator's empowerment journey. We're going from thinking about just creating for yourself to creating for your community to creating for societal change to actually creating an economic engine. But you cannot create an economic engine for the people that you care about if you can't do it for yourself first as a creative. Okay. So as you see on, this diagram here, I am the creator in this diagram, but this is you as the creator, right? How can you spend money on your community doing the things that you were already going to spend money on anyway. Okay. And so again, it comes down to two things: people you spend your money on and places you spend your money at. This is going to exponentially increase your success as a creative, a Black or brown creative, and it's also going to help your community as well. So we can go to that next slide. Okay, so I'm going to open it up in a minute to the Q&A portion. But the last thing that I want to say is you can find me on Instagram at Dr. Sheena Howard. That's where all of my socials are. It's all the set Dr. Sheena Howard. My website is sheenahoward.com. I'll toss some links into the comments so you can find me on Patreon as well if you want to support this creative empowerment framework. And if you want to see those comic rant comics, they come out about a couple of times a month on my Patreon. But the last thing I will say before I open it up for questions and answers is, I invest in myself. I heard rich people say that a lot. You gotta reinvest in yourself, right? When your business makes money, you have to reinvest in yourself. And I never really knew what that meant up until like 3 years ago. I was like, what does that mean? I just spend money on myself? Or they say reinvest into your business, reinvest into your business. I didn't know what that meant until I started actually getting educated and thinking about my creative pursuit as a business. And so I've been reinvesting in myself by hiring coaches, right? So a lot of times you're really skeptical, right? Do I want to spend my money on a coach? I don't have money to spend on a coach. I invest in creative coaches. I invest in business coaches, because you need to invest in people that have done the things that you want to do in order to reach your goals quicker, right? So Black business coaches, Black creative coaches, the co-working space that I go to, that I am in right now, is Black owned, right? It's a large Black membership. I published a fiction book called Nina's Whisper a couple years ago, and I actually just released my first song based on the book called Nina's Whisper. I got to talk about it on the Jill Scott show the other day. That interview just released yesterday. But I was able to collaborate with a Black vocalist and a Black producer and a Black songwriter. So on my journey, on the way up, I am being intentional about this economic engine. So it's not something I'm just saying, it's actually something I'm doing. And it is super, super empowering. And so, I took a master class with Roxanne Gay on masterclass.com. And the title of the class was actually Writing for Social Change. And, I went through all of the modules. It was great. It was inspiring. I love Roxanne Gay. She's definitely a writer that I look up to. But after the class, I just felt like something was missing, and it was nagging me. Like, it just didn't feel like, it was all about the things that we generally talk about, writing for social change, representation. It was about, how to get an agent. It was about talking about social change themes in your writing. I just kept having this, it was literally keeping me up at night. I finished the class and I'm like, something is missing from this class, Writing for Social Change. And that is where I got to the place where I'm like, aha, I know what it is. We have to do more than just representation. We need to continue, writing for social change and focusing on representation. But in conjunction with that, on our journeys up, it's about the things that you do behind the scenes to empower our community, right? And I totally believe, before I die, I would like to see the Black community be the highest earning minority income group in the United States. And I think the creative entrepreneurship community can lead in that effort towards that goal. All right, so I am going to stop there. I'll open it up for Q&A. I don't know how you want me to do this. I do see some questions in the chat, but for sure, if you have questions for me, shoot them at me. I'm happy to talk more.
Hi, Dr. Howard. Thank you so much for that lovely talk. It was so informative.
Good.
We do have
Good.
we do have one question so far. What's the best way to find out about what Black-owned businesses are in your neighborhood?
So for me, I'm in a city, so I'm in Philadelphia. And I asked, like I was just at a restaurant the other day. The restaurant is called Nourish on 9th Street in South Philly. And everything about this restaurant told me it was black. That's why I went in there. Like it was all black people working there. They had like their little section with the black things that people sell, like the soaps and stuff, natural African shea butter, right? All shea buttered up. Okay. And it was a vegan place. So I was hyped. I ordered my food. It was so good. I'm eating it. I just knew this place was black owned. So I said I'm in the middle of eating my like fried cauliflower or whatever it was. And I asked the worker, I said, this place is black owned, right? He was like, no. And I was like, and he was like, does that change the way the food tastes? And I said, yes, it does. Like I'm sitting here thinking I'm supporting a black owned business. So sometimes it's just about asking, because a lot of these places do a really good job of looking black in our neighborhoods, and they are not. But I do a lot of walking. I do a lot of asking. I'll ask in a second. Is this place black owned? The coffee shop that I go to every morning is black owned. I didn't know it was black owned. I just got friendly with the barista, and they told me. So then I was like, awesome. And then they told me about another black owned coffee shop. So when I don't go to that one, I know what my backup place is going to be. The co-working space, same thing. You'll find that a lot of these black owned businesses, the owner is back there making your coffee. The owner is walking around the co-working space, right? Because a lot of us are just starting out on our success journey as entrepreneurs. And if you want them people to be there in 10 years, you need to start supporting them and give them grace. Don't say anymore, that's why I don't shop at black places. Literally, these other organizations have a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100-year head start, some of these companies. And so just being intentional and giving grace and asking around whether a place is black owned or not is super important. And you do have to ask, because some places really do look black owned and they're not.
Thank you, Dr. Howard. I think we'll wait a couple more minutes to see if we have any questions on our other streaming platforms.
Sure. If it's okay, I'll drop some links in the comments. Is that okay with the moderators?
Absolutely.
Websites, mailing lists. All right. Oh no, I can't. You guys took my functionality off. Okay.
Okay, we have another one. What advice do you have for any budding comic writers in our audience about getting started?
Oh, that's a great question. Budding comic writers about getting started. So, sometimes the difference between you and your peers that are doing things you want to do is that your peer is not afraid to send an email. And I mean that sincerely, because the way that a lot of the things that I've gotten, like the Breakfast Club, or writing DMC's graphic novel, or having Henry Louis Gates write the foreword to my book Encyclopedia of Black Comics, is literally just because I had the courage to send an email to people that don't know me at all. So I would say don't be scared to email some of the people that you like to work with and say, hey, hey, DMC, I see that you have a graphic novel line. I am a writer. Here are a couple of my previous scripts. Do you need a writer? That's literally the email I sent this man, and he did not. So to be fair, right? Obviously, everything is a buildup. I happened to be on a panel with him like a year earlier, and so I had his email address, and so I just when I'm on email chains, I keep email. That's another thing. You need to keep all of your connections in a safe place, and you don't just email these people right away. You email them with a message. So when I felt like the time was right, I just sent him an email. Hey, DMC. I don't know if you even know me. I don't even know if you remember being me being on that panel, but I've been writing comics. Here's a couple of my scripts. Would love to write with you. That's literally how I got that opportunity. Same thing with Henry Louis Gates. So I did the encyclopedia years ago. My name wasn't out there nearly as much as it is now, but someone that I know had his email address and was like, hey, yeah, here's his email address, email him. I literally just sent this man an email. Hey, I love your work. I would really love for you to write the foreword to the Encyclopedia of Black Comics. He didn't know me from Adam. So sometimes it's just actually, not just emailing somebody some nonsense like, I had somebody email me the other day and they're like, hey, Dr. Howard, would love to collab. Here's my work. Collab on what? Like, you have to be specific. Like, hey, DMC, I know you do graphic novels. I see you did DMC number 3. It looks like you're working on number 4. I am a writer. Can I help you? Right? When you are networking, it's not about what you can get from the other person. It's about what you can do for them. So we need to rethink the way we think about networking. So as a budding comic book writer, first thing you have to do is obviously write, get some scripts out there, write your own scripts. You see, like, I like to do my comic rant script on Patreon because it keeps me writing, right? It keeps me writing. It keeps me giving my fans some entertainment. But in the middle of, not working on a big project, I get to keep writing. So you have to keep writing. And once you keep writing, if nobody's publishing your work, self-publish it if you have to. I'm not a fan of self-publishing. If you follow me on Instagram, I talk about this all the time. Not a fan of self-publishing. We could talk about that later in another talk. But don't be scared to pitch yourself to like agents, to like, send comic book companies an email. Tell them how you can help them. Same thing when I wrote on Wonder Woman. They didn't ask me to write nothing. Google has all the information. I found some email addresses of editors. I asked around. Someone ended up giving me an email address of an editor there, and I just emailed them, hey, I would love to write for you, right? I love what you're doing. Here's my area of expertise. Here's what I like to write. And then once you do that, once you get a little bit of traction, right, and you do well with your social media strategy, is a big part of it, then people will reach out to you and ask you to write for them, right? But a lot of it is hustle, hard work, not being scared, collaborating with other people, collaborating with people who are at the same level as you and helping them. Hey, like, it doesn't have to be somebody who's slightly above you, somebody that's a budding comic book art. If you're a budding comic book writer, connect with a budding comic book artist. Hey, let's work on this thing together and publish this thing. Let's create a Kickstarter and raise $5,000, $10,000 to get the ball moving. So collaboration, hustle, not being afraid to network, adding value, and just keep writing. The more content you put out on the internet, the more you will attract opportunities. That's why I put a lot of stuff out there, right? A lot of things don't work, right? A lot of things don't get me anywhere, but it's out there. You never know, 10 years from now, somebody might find something that I wrote before and it might be a big hit. I just reposted a little clip from my Breakfast Club interview, and like, everybody thought it was a recent interview. I did that in 2016. So sometimes when we publish stuff too, we do a big launch, and then 30 days later, we on to something else. You got to keep reminding people. So for my book, I self-published 2 books, and I self-published them on purpose just so I can talk about the difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing and why one is better than the other. But I self-published the book Nina's Whisper, which is a fiction book about same-sex domestic abuse, right? Again, I'd like to talk about topics that other people are not talking about. And that could be scary because you're in a lane of your own. Nobody's talking about same-sex domestic abuse, but it makes you stand out, right? You have to create things that everybody else is not creating. Nobody's talking about same-sex domestic abuse. So I can tell you, if this conversation around same-sex domestic abuse blows up for some reason, guess whose book they're going to find? Dr. Howard, that published this random fiction book in 2020. But I keep traction on that book. So I did that self-published book. I got an option agreement with a publisher in LA. So they're turning it into, they did the screenplay for it. I just did a song called Nina's Whisper by the same name. So you gotta keep things going, right? You gotta keep your stuff going and keep it out there any way that you can. And there's a lot of work, yes. But as you can see, the thing that keeps me going is my vision. And I'm not just doing this just for my own personal gain. I have a vision, I have a plan, I have a mission, I have goals. And so understanding what your why is really helpful as well.
Thank you, Dr. Howard. We have about 3 more questions. So depending on if we can get through these. First, a fellow teacher says, "Amazing talk. As a teacher, I
Thank
wonder
you.
how would you start teaching these lessons in school?"
Well, if you're a teacher, you can hire me. Right? I can do some curriculum development for you. I can come and speak, but I think it's baby steps. So, for example, I'm actually teaching a 2-week summer program. There's a program called Mighty Writers here in Philadelphia that works with, predominantly the Black community, young kids, 12 through 18. I'm teaching them comic book script writing, and best believe the class is going to be about comic book script writing, but I'm going to help them understand that the characters and heroes that you are creating, you need to have a bigger vision for, right? This is the potential that you can use comics for. So it's not about just writing. You could do so much more with this. So I think empowering them to help them understand that the things that they create matter and have impact beyond just representation, right? So right now we're at a point in 2022, there's representation all over the place, right? We always want more. We got to keep pushing the boundaries. But now let's talk about economic empowerment. So giving them baby steps and empowering them besides just, hey, writing for social change and representation. But I think baby steps, teaching them a lot of things, quite honestly, that we don't teach in school, right? We're not teaching creative entrepreneurship to high schoolers, but we should, because high schoolers have these tools. They're on Instagram, they're on Snapchat, and they can use them to really dramatically change their lives if you teach them social media strategy, which is not really taught in the educational system at this point.
Thank you. Another question. Could you talk more about how to select a publisher? Is it better to go with a Black publisher or go with the biggest publisher who will take the book, regardless of whether they are Black owned?
Oh, this is a good question. So I've published with Black publishers. The great thing about being committed to this work is that you'll start to have a brand, and then people will self-select. So Black publishers will come to you because they know that you're for them. But you still got to vet them, because all Black publishers might not have your best interests at heart. So sometimes you do have to say no to them too, because you have to look out for your best interest. I had a little situation with a Black publisher this year. So, once you get to a certain level, like lawyer up, do X, Y, and Z. I think early on, you got to be a little selfish and you want to go with the biggest opportunity possible, right? Early on. The more you go in your career and as you grow, you can become more and more intentional about supporting Black people. But early on, don't let that big opportunity slip away just because you're trying to support a Black publisher. Right now, if a Black publisher and another publisher comes to you and they're both equal, go with the Black publisher, of course, right? And you can implement your own affirmative action. That's what we're talking about here. But I'm going to stop there because I want to get one more question. I see one more question in there, and I want to use those 2 minutes to answer that last question.
Okay, sure. Someone is saying, "I love the idea of writing famous people to ask for help, but I am a bit afraid to do that and always imagine that they are flooded with requests like that. How did you overcome imposter syndrome?"
Yeah. So, quick note, if anybody has any questions, I'm really active on Instagram. If you didn't get your question here at Dr. Sheena Howard, I will actually respond. Um, Thinking that like a celebrity or influencer or somebody that you want to work with is too busy to respond to your email is called a limiting self-belief. Now, will some of them not respond? Yes. Send a follow-up email. Send a follow-up email until they do respond. People don't respond to me all the time, but the ones that do, right, I get amazing opportunities. So you gotta, it's mental, right? Get over that limiting self-belief and send that email. But don't email them. Don't email them like, "Hey, love your work, would love to collab." No, be intentional. Tell them what you actually can help them with. And you'll have more success. Like the way I got on the Breakfast Club is because I literally DM'd Charlemagne on Twitter for like a year. Like
Wow.
literally, I'm telling you guys.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Howard. It is 5:59 um, EDT time. So again, if there are more comments coming in, um, please don't hesitate to reach out to Dr. Howard on Instagram. And again, just thank you so much for this very informative lecture. And also, please don't forget that your donations ensure that programming like this continues to stay free for all and accessible. So thank you so much, everyone.